Wow! A sleeping lion. When it sounds like a roaring lion, it's not too. So automatically you say, oh, here is Salliue the lower, the lion mountain. Yes. Then, just like what I said, there are other historians who believe, no, that does not apply. Sierra Leone does not found by anyone. It was mainly used as a transit point by travelers because of the unique environments we have. Because when this European comes, they find this place, they see they have fresh water, fruits. We all know the kind of fruits we have in this country. We have mango, orange, guava, the cucumber. They take this thing along as they go. And whilst others stay. Now, having gone through that, now you have learned about how this country come about in brief. Why the formation? How we also want to look at the other way around, during slavery. We all know this country was also used as a deposit point of slavery. By that time, I mean, after the end of slavery, you see that the Europeans will bring back some of the slaves they have into this country. And in that regard, there is a company that was set up, known as the Sierra Leone Company. And that company was set up by abolitionists. These are people who believe slavery should not exist. And the people who feel the brunt of this slavery, our fathers, our grandfathers, these are the people that these white people come and take care. They go with them, just like what the chairman said. They go with them, they toil in farms, do all kind of hard work. And those countries has improved. And look at us today. So like in that regard, we have people who we consider as the founding fathers of this country. People who advocated for the abolition of slavery. When I say abolition, I mean the end of, we don't say for end something, the abolition of slavery. These abolitionists, people who advocate for something to end on the slave trade are abolitionists. And the abolition of slave trade, who are the founding fathers? We have like Gavin Sharp, we have Thomas Clarkson, and the 13, Thomas' brother John Clarkson, who later become governor of this country. These are people who fight for the end of slavery and identify this country for our late, for our fathers, forefathers to come back. But the other presenter will give you details on that. Then from then, we get the St. George's Bay Company. And this company was born, which come and replace what? The Sierra Leone Company. And in that regard, the first set of slaves that come into this country, they are the Black Poors. And the Black Poors, these are slaves from what? England. They come from England, and they arrived in this country in 1787. These people come. Then from then, the other set of slaves are the Nova Scotians. And who are the Nova Scotians? These are slaves from where? From Canada, who fought alongside with the America for them to get their independence. So the Nova Scotians are also ex-black slaves. They are the second set of slaves that come to this country. And during that time, the Black Poors, when they come, there are 300 of them. They have 60 English working class women. When I say working class women, it means these sex workers, if I may say. And they have 411 men, women, and children, and some clergy people. When I say clergy people, these are religious people, who come and impart to them the Western, religion, because they see Africans as barbaric people. When I say barbaric, I mean uncivilized. They need to be civilized by learning their own religion. So, in that regard, now when they come, they met who? Local people here. That is why I said this country was not found by anybody, because there are people who they meet, the indigents. But the next presenter will give you details about that. So in all sum, the Nova Scotian, they come from Halifax. Halifax, in Canada. They come into this country. So in that regard, I hope you have learned a lot from the geographical location of this country, where Sierra Leone was from, and how we come about. So I want to thank you very much for listening to me, and I want to thank you all for participating. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salliue WCC. I have enjoyed his presentation. I don't know about you. Have you also enjoyed it?
Yes.
Are you all part of the AUCAYD family?
Oh yes.
So we say?
Creativity to our input society.
Thank you very much. I would like to move on to the next item. But before I do, I would like to entreat all our speakers to try as much as possible to adhere to the time allotted them, so that we don't spend more time here than we have planned, because we are already late. I would like to call on Mr. Ibrahim Mansari, the program coordinator for AUCAYD, to talk on the topic, the early European contact and slavery in Salliue. Please put your hands together for me.
Thank you very much. With your kind permission, I'd like to stand. Good afternoon, all and sundry. I want to start by welcoming you all to this very important program. And my presentation is going to be brief because of time. And so I want you all to concentrate. Don't read those models yet. Wait until you get home. Because I prepared there a summary of that, because I want you to concentrate. Today marks a very significant milestone in development analysis of history and culture. Our history is our story. Our culture is our identity. What truly makes us Sierra Leonean is those two things. For far too long, this opportunity has not been provided to us. Either perhaps people think it's not important, or rather they consider it to be time-consuming. The single act of mistake, or should I say neglect, has the potential of sending our whole generation to the rocks. As it is now, Sierra Leonean young people are in a state of cultural dilemma. That is to say, they don't understand the Western culture, yet they practice it. On the other hand, they have little or no knowledge about their culture, so they shy away from it. I want to put it to you all that an individual without culture and history is already dead. It's just a matter of funeral arrangements pending. That's to God be the glory. None of us here would die of this complication, because we already learning. Thanks goes to Artists United for Children Youth Development. Shall we just give this organization a big hand? Meanwhile, it is interesting to note that all what we see on Western televisions, we should not copy hook, line, and sinker, being that they are mostly fictions aimed at promoting their nations as being very powerful and its people extraordinary. This they have almost succeeded in achieving in major sectors, namely education, economy, and infrastructure, to name but few. But countrymen and women, let us don't discourage in that most of what the Western world is enjoying today was as a result of the exploitation meted upon our forefathers, the African continent, on two phases. That is slavery and colonialism, of which Sierra Leone is no exception. However, this orientation is meant to save particularly pupils, you sitting and listening to me now, of this state of cultural dilemma, by sensitizing you to better understand who you really are, to believe in what you stand for and stand for what you believe in as Africans and as Sierra Leoneans. You and I can make Sierra Leone the paradise we want it to become if we all put our shoulders to the wheel and make sure this thing happens by learning from the mistakes of our predecessors alongside our history. Let me at this point caution that development is not automatic. For Europe and America, Great Britain to be what they are today, it took them well over 50 years. But it all started with learning the past and transforming the future. Finally, I am appealing to all AUCAYD school members to make use of this opportunity, the best use, and consider themselves as choosing few to impact their schools, their communities, and Sierra Leone as a whole. And now to the model proper. But I'm going to pick at certain key points and make sure I digress. I'll be very brief. Looking at the early European contact, there are many people, as my learned colleague Italian said, that are claiming to have discovered Sierra Leone. But according to what we have in history, was that in 1462 the Portuguese sailor came and upon overhearing the roaring sound of the thunder, which resembled the roar of a lion, he decided to call this place Lion Mountain or Salliue, prior to which there were other names like Watering Place, Rome, according to history. The watering place came about as a result of Sierra Leone having a very clean and pure water. So travelers that use the Atlantic coast used to stop by and get some fresh water. And so prior to his coming to Sierra Leone, this place was called like a watering place. To point to this in 14, are we together? Okay. A pointer to this fact is as a result of in 1664, during the Anglo-Dutch War, when the famous Dutch Admiral de Ruyter came and destroyed Bonds and Nassau Island, he watered at King Jimmy. How many of you know where King Jimmy is? All of us, huh? He watered at King Jimmy and triumphantly inscripted his name on a limestone, and that stone has been kept as a national monument. Today it's no longer visible because of poor renovation and preservation. But a picture of it I'll advise you go and see the National Museum, right? And so that tells you that this place had several names. Amongst them, you have like the watering place, Rome, and of course, Salliue, which became the final Lion Mountain, Sierra Leone. Though it was initially given to the colony, but later it was used as the national or the name for the whole country, other than the colony alone. And now to slavery and slave trade, I tell you in my opening, that the two main factors that are like responsible for our underdevelopment are like colonialism and slavery, and this has been in existence for 400 or so years. And when it was accidentally or by the grace of God put to an end, another form of like slavery came into play, which was like colonialism. They said we are not fit or mature enough to govern ourselves, so we needed them to like oversee activities, right from administration, education, and what have you. And a pointer to that fact, as my man was like explaining, was the coming of this the white people here to pick up our brothers and like selling them to slavery. And one peculiar characteristics of Sierra Leoneans was that our skills were valuable because we have the art of cultivating rice, and so they were valuable at other parts of the world like North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And mind you, people living in those parts of the world are our forefathers or descendants of our forefathers, and so we and us and most of them out there share the same lineage. So it should be no surprise if Isaiah Washington is being given a citizenship based on a DNA conducted. If Denzel Washington, the famous Hollywood star, is being given citizenship based on DNA, should not be surprised because most of them emanated from the northern side, South Carolina axis in the United States. And of course, if you heard about the Bula kinship connection, you should not be surprised, of course. Of course, the people in Haiti are also part of those taken from Africa, Sierra Leone in particular. And when the trade was abolished, they were scattered in some other parts of the world, Nova Scotia, Haiti, Jamaica, Sierra Leone, right? And so that one thing I want you all to know is the fact that slavery and slave trade was one of the most inhuman, horrific, and tragic past of Africans, because it saw the most energetic, the most robust, the most zealous and enthusiastic African who would have developed Africa to a better place today, being shipped to the new world. And it is no mistake when I told you that the things the white people, the things the Europeans and Americans are portraying are the handiworks of our forefathers, because they were using their hands, their craftsmanship to build the new world, whilst present they were using machines. That tells you how strong and hardworking we were. And another very important story that all of us as Sierra Leoneans, as Africans, need to be proud of is the Amistad Revolt, which took place in 1839. The story came about when a couple of Sierra Leoneans were captured from their homelands in Sierra Leone and taken to taken as slaves. On their way going, they were taken on board a ship called Amistad. And Amistad was not a slaver. A slaver is a powerful ship that is being designed for the purpose of traveling or transporting slaves. But Amistad was a cargo ship. Its original name was called Friendship. And when it was later sold to the Spaniards, it was named La Amistad. Right? And so it was on board La Amistad that a very famous hero, though dead now, Shembe Pierre, who is known in the United States as Joseph Sinki, staged the most historic revolt, which led to their eventual freedom in 1842, because they spent like 2 years in the United States awaiting trials in court, because after the revolt they were captured because they have no idea in sailing ship, and so they were just like floating in the ice, and so they were captured and taken to New Haven, Connecticut, where they were like tried for murder, because according to the slave master, they said that they killed the captain on board, and it was as a result of the frantic efforts of people like the former United States President Sir Adams and a range of other people who fought very hard to see that these people were eventually given freedom. Another important monument, I should call it that way, that we need to look at when discussing slavery and slave trade is the issue of Bonds Island. How many of you have been to that place? I presume none. Okay, yeah, Mr. Okay, yes, I know. Okay, and Bonds Island is one of the most historic monuments Sierra Leone can boast of, just as we have Gorée Island in Senegal. And we also have Bonds Island, which served as the major slave depot in those years around the 1670s. Where slaves being captured from the hinterland and other African countries, we are brought to that place and then being transferred to the New World as slaves, right? And so even after the abolition of slavery, that place remains a national monument. But after years, it has been forgotten, and it is not until late when the government is working assiduously in conjunction with one of a friend of Sierra Leone by the name of Professor Joseph Opala, and now they are like renovating that place. And I know by the time they have completed that work, you will be opportune to go and see that place, and it teaches you a lot. It clearly narrates the imaginary stories, because by looking at the graves, looking at the caves, you begin to imagine, begin to reflect the kind of pains our forefathers we are getting in the name of slavery and slave trade. And of course, eventually, everything, be it bad or good, must one day come to an end. And so as a result of people like William Wilberforce, Gavin Sharp, the former President Adams, and a host of other philanthropists in the world over, the British Parliament in 1807 enacted a law that states that slavery and slave trade is illegal. Prior to which you have like the James Somerset case, upon which a slave and a slave master are summoned in a court, and eventually the slave was given victory. And so the judgment was that any slave who steps foot on British soil should consider him or herself free. And so this was like the major case that precipitated or prompted this act. And also, when it was declared over, Britain and other powers, Britain in particular, supported the returning of 400 plus slaves to Africa, and somewhere like sent to Nova Scotia. But in 1792, the Commune was established, which was later called the Sierra Leone Commune. right? And so, by and large, what I want us all to learn from this particular story is the fact that, one, the Europeans that came earlier on have their motives. Some came by coincidence, some came to do one or two experiments, and others came for like slavery and slave trade. And another important aspect of the presentation is the fact that the revolt, as a result of the bravery effort of an individual, it sends a signal, a positive signal to the world over that this particular act is inhuman. And lastly, of course, we should also appreciate the works of like the abolitionists, those who fought assiduously to see that this particular drama is put to an end. So I want to pause for a while and perhaps just entertain a few questions, because I was like rapping or running, if you like. Thank you. If you have any question, you have liberty to ask.
Please put your hands together for me, sir. I'm hoping we are learning something. But I think some of us seem not to be here with us. Our attention has been drawn elsewhere. Please, when they are speaking to us, so let's do well to listen to what they have to say. The next item on the list is the cultural performance by AUCAYD School Network, sorry. And I understand this was performed by all. But I get the impression this is a few albums. And then again, those who have questions, write them down for each person who has spoken so far. So for instance, write Mr. Salliue WCC.